Hey guys, Shalana here, bringing you guys another explanation video, and today we're talking about the Netflix original series Dark. Now, Dark is one of those shows that takes multiple sittings to watch for you to start fully grasping what the show is trying to tell you and what the show is about. So about my second sitting to, I think I finally understand it all. So let's talk about Dark. What is Dark? Dark essentially is the story of time travel, but it takes a unique spin on time travel. Unlike Back to the Future, Travelers, Doctor Who, other time travel shows, Dark follows a specific pattern, the pattern of 33. Now, the reason this is significant is the number 33 itself can be seen as somewhat holy or religious in the sense that Jesus was 33, Ibrahim or God was mentioned 33 times in the Bible, and Dark takes place in 3 different times that are separated by the number 33, 33 years. From 1953 to 1986 to 2019. Separated by 33, and the fact that Noah, the main antagonist, is a priest kind of hits pretty heavy on the biblical tone. So what makes Dark different from other time travel shows? It's like I said, besides the factor of 33, Dark takes a less linear approach at time travel. As you can see, it's a Venn diagram where these 3 timelines or these 3 time periods intersect. And with Dark, it's as though the future is what affects the past. Usually with time itself, time is pretty linear for the most part. Past event makes future event happen. But in the series Dark, future event is what causes a past event, and said past event is what makes the future arise. So it's basically the future creates the past, which thus creates the future. Kind of like a loop, if you will. 2019 causes 1953, which causes 2019 to happen. But with Dark, the thing that's kind of weird about it is the fact that for the most part, most of the story takes place in 2019. The main character, Jonas, is from 2019, and all the main protagonists, I would say, come from 2019. However, the main timeline of the show is 1986. Now, I know that might be weird. Most of the story takes place in 2019. The main character is in 2019, and it has the most importance, you would say. But if you think about it, 1986 is the crux of what makes Dark itself. In the show, we know that they go to 1953, 1986, and 2019. However, the most time travelers end up in 1986. Now, in 1986 is what created this time wormhole, if you will, that created this time rupture in which various characters can travel between time and what kids go missing and end up in different time periods. The whole epicenter of it all is 1986, when the nuclear power plant has the accident that opens the wormhole. Not only does it open the wormhole, we have the most time travelers going to 1986. We have Michael, 1986. We have Jonas, 1986, and future Jonas goes to 1986. We have Helge, both young 1953 Helge and 2019 Helge have gone to 1986. Noah has been to 1986. We have this little dog, the little poodle dog, the Tiedemann dog that went missing, ends up in 1986, which causes quite a few ruptures, if you will, in the timeline. 1986 is the most pivotal and crucial moment of this. Not only is the wormhole happening, but Mikhail going back in time is what creates Jonas. Not only that, H.D. Tannhaus, the guy who wrote the book A Journey Through Time, who also creates the time machine that causes the wormhole in the first place, finishes it in 1986. So now that we have the key component of Dark itself being 1986 and where most of the events happen in 1986, we also have to understand how does that fit in with 1953, how does that fit in with 2019. In Dark, Mikhail is Orig's son in 2019. He goes back in time and he meets Jonas's mother, and they have Jonas, thus creating this first time loop. Now, because Mikhail goes missing in 2019, everyone starts looking for him, which causes Ulrich to stumble on the cave, which sends him to 1953. Now, this is crucial in 1953 because 1953 is what culminates pretty much what's to happen in 1986, the explosion, and what's to create 2019. By Ulrich going back in 1986 and believing that Helge is the one responsible for kidnapping not only his son Mikhail, but his brother Mads in 1986, he figures he's going to eliminate Helge in 1953. Now, it's in this time period that Helge gets his head bashed in pretty much by Ulrich, which kind of sends him on the path to being the Helge that ends up doing those crimes, or not doing those crimes, but being complicit in Noah's part of the story. So by Ulrich going back to 1953, he sets Helge off to his path. Not only that, he visits HD townhouse. Before HD is even interested in time travel, he leaves his cell phone behind. He introduces him to the book that he will later write, which is A Journey Through Time. HD townhouse will later write the book after meeting Ulrich in 1953. Now, by him writing the book, he becomes somewhat of a pseudo, or you can say an expert in time travel, which is what causes future Jonas to go back to 1986, because at this point H.G. Tannhaus is what you would call an expert in time. But this all happens because Ulrich goes back in 1953. Now, we have Ulrich being the key component in 1953, setting up the events of 1986. So we have Claudia Tiedemann losing her dog in 1953, runs into her dog again in 1986 when she is at the power plant as CEO of power plant. She's the manager, whatever you want to call her, at the power plant, which instigates her interest in time travel. And for that most part, we have all our characters, all our stages are set. All the characters we know are pretty much in their spaces. Ulrich causes 1953, which causes 1986, which causes 2019. Ulrich is from 2019. 1986 for the most part deals with Mikael, Jonas, and that regard. So Jonas and Mikael from 2019 caused the events of 1986 by having Mikael stay there, raise himself, and create Jonas as his kid. We have all the events there. And not to mention, at the key moment towards the last episode, I said Helge came to 1986 in both timelines. Older Helge went back to try to kill his younger self, so that way he can never commit those atrocities and, in a sense, kind of stop the time loop. That fails. But when we have older Jonas and younger Jonas speaking to each other from the, whatever that is, whatever that room is where Noah is torturing kids, when they speak to each other from that time period and he leaves, a portal opens when the future Mikael detonates H.G. Tannhaus's device that will end the wormhole. But instead of ending the wormhole, that's probably what creates the wormhole in the first place, or creates a new portal. So I'm guessing because of this being a time loop, that all these things happen, will happen, always happens, because future Jonas told past Jonas that he remembers having this conversation with him. So this is something that's happened numerous times before, to the point that I guess the initial breach of the wormhole is what causes this loop, and every time future Jonas goes about his plans, he creates more portals, which is why when the final portals open between 1953 and 1986 and Jonas and Helge touch each other, Jonas is launched to the year 2052, while Helge is launched from 1953 to 1986, which is a fun fact because in 1986, at that time, we have 1953 Helge, we have 1986 Helge, and we have 2019 Helge, who's kind of died in that time period, so he's there. So Helge of 3 different time periods are in 1986 at the same time, while Jonas of 2 different time periods are there at the same time as well. I just thought that was a fun fact. Did I lose you guys yet? Because this, I feel like I'm oversimplifying things, but that's what the explanation is, oversimplification of this. So essentially the main crux of it all is 1986 is the main timeline. 2019 is what causes not only 1986, but 1953 as well. Jonas is the main character, the main catalyst behind this, but not just Jonas, it's his whole family. His grandfather, Ulrich, his father, Michael, and himself are 3 different people who go to 3 different times, which set the motions of the events of the show pretty much in motion. So it's Jonas's family. Ulrich in 1953, Mikael in 1986, Jonas in not only 2019, but 2052 and 1986, which creates this time loop, and Noah himself seems to be profiting from this time loop somewhat, so he doesn't want Jonas to succeed in closing the time loop. So I'm still a bit confused what his motives are, but they seem to be biblical in a sense that he's a priest, but not so preachy priest. I don't know, but the fact that he's a priest, the number 33 referenced is Jesus' age, and Ibrahim or God in the Bible 33 times. Those things kind of fit into each other in the sense that Dark itself is a closed time loop between these 3 timelines, and the series ends with opening a 4th timeline. So I like the fact that the Venn diagram shows 1953, 1986, and 2019 converging in a sense, and then Jonas is launched to 2052, so maybe the centerpiece is 2052. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much my explanation of the series of Dark, the way the time travel works, and how the Jonas's family, or I don't know what to call them. Do I call them Jonas's last name? They would have to get Ulrich's last name, right? So if they get Ulrich's last name, it would be Nielsen. The Nielsen family, Ulrich Nielsen, Mikael Nielsen, and Jonas, technically Nielsen, are the main crux of the time loop itself and are the main reason why 2019 is affecting the past, thus creating itself in this closed loop. So essentially, Dark is a story of interpersonal relationships throughout time that transcend different time periods. 1953, 1986, 2019. All these characters, for the most part, stay in this town, know each other, and form this bond. And not only is this bond intricate in each time frame, it's also intricate in the future, thus causing the past and creating those bonds in the first place. Anyway, guys, that's my explanation on Dark. Hopefully it makes sense to you guys. I know it's a bit much, but Dark is one of those shows that takes some understanding and getting used to. Hopefully I oversimplified it enough that we all understand. If you like this video, definitely hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you guys haven't already. And until next time, binge on.